Alright, let me go do my intro. Howdy! Today's gonna be really interesting. We're continuing off with Lucas's character, Muffy. Oh gosh, let me just do the intro and get this over with. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I'm your host, Davin Dave or Daddy. Don't call me that last one though. Trust me, Muffy will beat your ass. They will climb through the computer and kill you. I'm kidding. Excuse my language, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse. If you don't know, Muffy is a character who lives in the Arctic Circle. Their uncle was taken and all that stuff. You'll figure it out. I think today is going to be really maybe dramatic, but also possibly we'll learn a lot about each other's characters. I'll learn a lot about Muffy's character. Muffy will learn about a lot about Simo's character, me. So yeah, I'm really hoping a lot of this stuff is just gonna get really interesting, and yeah, here we go. All right, you guys ready to start?
Yep.
Cool. Okie dokie. So immediately, Lucas, Muffy, and Simo, you guys both stepped outside, which is where we left off, I believe, right? Right. You guys all step outside, and it is storming very bad outside. As Simo here, he's just standing there, just waiting for you to do something. He's kind of just looking at you with a very blank face.
As I just kind of signal him to follow me and start walking north.
As you can almost feel from him, like, this strange vibe coming off of him. As, he immediately follows behind you.
As I just kind of think to myself, what just happened?
As you hear Simo looking over to the left, or you look at Simo and see he's looking over to the left of your house, and you can see this this dog sitting there, and he just whistles and says, "Bruno!" And then that dog reacts to the when he said Bruno, and then runs over to his side immediately and just heals.
I just kind of think to myself, I didn't know he had a dog.
He looks at you and says, "Should we keep walking?"
Yeah, let's go. As I do continue to walk north.
As Simo is like checking out, he goes to his the back of his shirt. Sorry, Simo's supposed to be walking just to the side of you. As he goes to like the back of his shirt on his left hip, and he pulls out this pistol and he starts checking it and like taking it apart and putting it back together and whatnot.
As I just kind of think to myself, I wonder how long this guy's been working with guns. Or like how many he has.
As you can see in the vibe from him, what's your intuition actually?
Oh, sorry, I don't have my character sheet pulled up. Let me do that.
Alright, I'll do it for you. Your natural intuition picks up that this guy's vibe has completely changed. Like, from him joking around and screaming and all that stuff in the house, he's completely silent and just extremely serious in his eyes. As this dog here carries the same exact vibe coming off of him. So the dog is supposed to be at his right side. As the dog walks over to his right side and just starts looking at you, what do you want to do?
Just continue walking north.
As you guys all continue not walking north.
So what do you plan to do when we get to the fishing place?
I'll scout out an area, I'll find a safe spot, set up, and if anything happens, I'll probably just use my gun. From what I know, the trail's gonna end up here, right?
I believe so. I'm honestly surprised the whole trail didn't get snowed in.
Same. You sure Penny and Lynn is gonna be okay?
Yeah, they can take care of themselves.
Okay. As even the way he talks, his entire demeanor is just so different.
As I do just kind of think to myself, what happened? What is going on? Why am I walking with just a completely different person?
As you continue walking. He notices, Simon looks at you and he notices that you're kind of questioning things and he says, what are you thinking about?
So, what'd you say your name was again?
Simo.
Is that short for anything, or?
You wouldn't be able to pronounce it. Just call me Simo.
Okay. And the dog's name is Bruno?
Bruno. Yeah. It was my dog. It was my dad's dog. He just never died. He's as old as me, actually.
Oh, wow.
Well, as old as I was.
As old as you were?
I was 22 before I turned 17 somehow. I got hit with some aging spell or something and they reversed my age back to a 17-year-old boy. If that doesn't make any sense, I know.
No, it makes sense. I'm just wondering how you ended up in that situation.
Well, you can ask Duros about that one.
As I just kind of think to myself, still don't know who that is.
He kind of looks at you and just smirks just a small bit and he says, he's an old friend of mine. We knew each other a while back. I know you don't know him and all that stuff, but good guy. Scary guy.
As I'm now just thinking to myself, can he read my thoughts or something? How did he know what I was thinking? What the heck?
He looks at you and just says, you okay? You looked a little freaked out.
I'm good. As I just kind of think in my head, what's 4 plus 4? Say it.
He keeps on looking at you and he's just, are you sure you're okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good, yeah. So, where did your dad find Bruno?
I'm not sure. He never told me. You're a lot more talkative. What happened?
I'm not sure. Just breaking the silence, I guess. As I just think, never thought that'd be something I was doing.
As he kind of just smirks just a little bit, and he pulls, goes in his very clearly empty pocket, and he says, "Do you want a cookie?"
You know what? Sure. What kind of cookie is it?
Chocolate chip.
As I just kind of take the cookie and nod as thanks.
As you go to reach for the cookie, you can see Bruno just snarl and bite almost at your hand. As Simo pats his hand, like almost patting the air with his hand, and Bruno like just smiles at you almost. like a dog smile where he's got his tongue out and whatnot and his mouth is really open. As you all stop and he just sits on the ground, Bruno, just staring at you as you go to reach out for the cookie again.
No.
As Simo reaches his hand over to signal you grabbing the cookie and whatnot.
As I reach out for the cookie again.
As you reach out for the cookie, nothing really happens. You can grab it.
I grab the cookie. Thanks.
No problem.
What was that about?
Oh, Bruno's a guard dog.
Oh.
Specially trained
makes
to... Specially trained to protect me. Should we keep walking? It's really dangerous out here from what I understand.
Oh, always, constantly.
As you can kind of see the crack in his eye glow bright red as he says, "Speak of the devil!" As he just takes out his gun. He takes out, his pistol.
As I,
What's your intuition?
my intuition is 3.
Intuition is 3, okay. So, yeah, no, that's not gonna work then. As you guys see, as y'all see in front of you, a large patch of ice starts forming.
Oh, well, that's not normal.
As you see Simo breathe in, you can almost see the air moving into his mouth. It's so cold outside. As you see, Bruno's eye actually glows bright red too.
As, just at this point, Muffy is thinking to herself that, they must be connected in some way. Like, soul link.
Alrighty. Here we go. Well, we need a little music, because that makes things always better, right?
Yeah, the song that never ends is a great song to play.
Lucas, I hate you.
You're the one who went.
I'm aware.
Not my fault.
Alrighty, cool, let's do it. As you see this large thing just start slowly rising up from the ground. As Simo puts away his pistol and he says, "Shit." Simo looks to you and he says, "Do you recognize that thing?"
We usually just call them ice golems.
Alright, perfect, Lucas, I'm gonna give it a name now. Ice Golem, cool. Ice Golem. Is that with an N?
No, with an M.
Yeah, I know. Some people spell Gollum with an N for some reason. Well, you got first move as you see Bruno lower his head down and his tail shoots up into the air curved and then goes to Simo's side. And then in front just a bit. As he starts snarling and barking at the thing.
Sorry, I started thinking about distance.
You have first move.
Okay. I would like to try and trap one of this thing's legs in rock.
Would your character know how to do that?
I don't know.
So as you want to trap its legs in rock or both or one of them?
Just one of them.
Which one?
Left leg.
So this one over here? Okay, so as you trap the left leg in rock, you can see that this thing is going to raise its... You can tell by your... Okay, no, you can't. It is raising its left arm, though. This one.
I'm going to assume it's going to try and break the rock with its left arm.
As Simo says, do you want me to do anything or you got this?
I do not got this. Please help.
Got it. As you hear a click happen as he's already has his sniper rifle out. And he immediately pulls the trigger. Let's see if it works. If not, it'll just fall back on its... 25. Okay, it doesn't work. Let's see his base accuracy. As he shoots the bullet at this thing's head, and then a large chunk of, like, a giant chunk gets shot off of this thing's head. As the iron, as the armor or whatever, clinks and falls off. As you do hear a ringing in your ear from the gun. Simo says, that's on you next! As he lowers his hand and smashes the ice. The golem.
Smashes the rock?
The ice. Yeah, the rock, sorry. I'm used to ice right now. Simon looks over and says, why don't you know how to fight? We live in the Arctic.
I usually only do house chores and stuff.
Okay.
As I try to make rock spears.
As you try and summon spears of rock. Let's see your magic stat. Or no, not your magic, sorry. Strength. Which is 15, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so how many spears do you want to make? Ooh.
Strength is 15. Just, 2.
Okay, so the second spear does summon up, and it is a very sharp blade. As you do make a rock
fire it at
spear.
its head.
You want to what?
Fire it at its head.
Fire it?
Throw it at its head.
What's your accuracy?
Hey! -4.
Get higher than a 14. Wow, okay. As you throw it at its head, that will couple up with your strength. Which is a 5. It's a 10 unnatural, so let's see your damage. As it absolutely just pierces this thing. It doesn't go all the way through, it stops halfway actually. But it does hit its head, and it starts walking towards you with the spear in its head. As Simo breathes out yet again, and you can see his eye, the crack growing even larger. As he breathes out, he shoots the gun and it launches the spear. It hits the back of the spear and actually goes through it while pushing the spear forward, and this thing's head gets completely knocked off. As unfortunately the spear does shatter. Simo looks over at you and he says, "Alright, you're up." As this thing does start walking, running, almost barreling towards you. Would you like to... How are you going to react?
It's just charging forward, right?
It is barreling towards you guys, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize that I had accidentally muted. I would like to just kind of move out of the way of it.
You want to just move out of the way? So, which way do you want to move?
East. I would also, I would like to try and, wrap its left leg in rock again.
So as you move to the east and you're going to activate strength, okay. As the rock does come up and wrap its leg, but it is still barreling as it's going to fall towards Simo. And Simo, and his dog both at the same time. Hold on. This thing is moving very fast, by the way. Oh, that's the old picture. I need to figure that. I need to fix that. Shadow jump 20 on Dex. Dex. 13. Okay, as Simo and his dog both jump up in the air and disappear into like a shadow or something. As this thing falls forward and then almost somehow curves towards you. You have a split second to react.
Try and dodge again going north.
Dex. What's your dex?
My dexterity is 8.
Okay, so as you do move out of the way, it still clobbers your foot though as you jumped out of the way. Wait, hold up. How did you want to get out of the way?
Just jumping out of the way going north.
Yeah, no, it clobbers your foot and like sprains your ankle too as you fall to the ground, and this thing this thing has turned into a giant freaking ice ball as it rolls on the ground, and it turns around and starts moving towards you again. As Simo appears all the way back here where it turned around. And you can see that he's holding his sniper up in the air. As he's going to try and activate Deadeye. Let's go. And he's shooting it. As he shoots it in the chest, it comes barreling towards you as Simo shoots his sniper rifle. And you can see this right here gets shot through as ice shards go flying into your eyes. They don't cut your eyes, but they hurt bad. As this thing stops right in front of you, almost hitting you. As this thing does appear to be dead. The shining in the center does appear to stop. You are badly hurt, though.
I would like to, am I still, like, on the ground?
Yeah, you're still on the ground.
I would like to, stand up. Just not on the leg that was sprained.
Right, as you stand up on your right leg, it was your left leg that got sprained, because it got hit so bad. As you stand up on your right leg, what is it you would like to do? As Simo, still holding his sniper rifle in his hand, he says, "Get ready, because it's not over yet."
Of course it's not. I would like to back up from this thing.
As you can see, all the ice shards start tumbling over towards some large some large pool-looking area. It's a very large sheet of ice that was just under the snow and it got randomly uncovered. As all of the ice chunks just start tumbling over towards it. As Simo looks at you and he says, "What the heck do we do now?"
I have no idea.
As you do have a split reaction because one of the head of this thing is going to clobber you in the head if you don't move out of the way in time.
Can I drop to the floor to, like, drop into the snow to dodge it?
What's your dex? 8, right?
Yep.
16. Okay, you're gonna have to get a high roll. No. You, as you drop to the floor, this thing scrapes the top of your head, not knocking off some of your hair, but it does. You are bleeding from the head just a little bit.
Well, I'm just gonna die in the second session. This is great, guys.
Well, Lucas, you wanted unpredictable. Here comes my wrath! No. As, you do see some large sheets of ice coming together. Simon looks at you with his gun kind of lowered and he says, "What do we do now?"
Well, I'm kind of bleeding from my skull.
And he says, he kind of just whistles, "Bruno!" And then points at you, and then Bruno runs over and he just kind of stands on guard around you. As Simo says, look, sit down.
I sit down.
As you sit, your vision is kind of starting to go dark just a little bit. Sorry. As you are struggling to keep your eyes open, as Simo patches up your head, and he says, it actually wasn't that bad. How's your ankle?
Probably sprained, I think.
Oh, shit, okay. Do you think you're gonna be okay?
Yeah.
As you aren't bleeding from the head anymore.
I would like to make a cast out of rock for my ankle.
I would like to mention, remember, you do still have a worker bee.
Oh, right.
Remember, worker bees can and always will accomplish one of any task.
Yeah, sorry to...
Jasper, I don't think you're in the game, are you?
Hold on, wait. Consider making a cast out of rock, highly.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that, cause...
Remember, I like to exploit everything. So if I know something about rocks that you don't, I'm most certainly going to exploit it.
Okay. I am now going to be doing a crap ton of research on rocks, thanks.
Well, I mean, how would a rock affect, like... Never mind, I'm not going to give anything away.
So, see, I don't want to use the worker bee now. Because I feel like it's way too soon. What do you wanna do? I say, talking to Simo.
As Simo says, I want to get you better so we can keep on exploring. If I have to carry you on my back, I will. Well, Bruno will, but, you know.
We can go back to the village and get my Aunt Penny and try again.
Are you sure?
Not bring her with us, but she's really good at healing. She is known as the village healer.
Are you certain that we should go back?
Yeah.
As he nods his head and says, okay. As you guys start walking off, the blizzard picks up so badly. As in front of you, a little book appears. Okie dokie. Hold on. Not you, but I do need you to find it. There, as this book appears in front of you.
What is that?
As Simo says, no effing way.
What is it?
This is one of the many books. Read it.
As I read the book.
As you pick up the book and read it, it only has one set of text on each page. And we can all thank Jasper for this amazing idea. Jasper, do I have your permission to take up this system?
What system? Quests? Yeah, go for it.
Yes! Wake. Okay. Here it is. Wake.
There's only one thing that I asked, though, okay?
Yeah.
Don't make any specific NPC that you have to go to in order to find these books.
Yeah, no, I know. I actually had the ideas for the books a long time ago. But I never really knew how to go about it. As Simo says, this is the books of the perfect being. Simo says.
So what do they do, and who's the perfect being?
We don't know who the perfect being is or even what it is, but a bunch of people have theorized that it was all of the hands coming together to create essentially the perfect being, and they mixed every blood of the creature, or not blood, but they mixed one part from each creature that they created and created this almost abomination type creature, and they hid it behind quests. You have to reconstruct it at a certain temple. I know the location of it, but I'm not sure if we should. It requires the sacrifice of a person to summon.
I don't think we should. Doesn't seem like a very
Soulless,
sacrificing.
soulless or souled, it doesn't matter, just as long as a person is involved. And we're not even sure of what happens to the person because of nobody has ever summoned the perfect being before.
We should get back to the village. The blizzard is picking up.
Agreed. As you guys all start rushing back, and the path, you can see the path does just disappear. Sorry. Whoops. There we go. Like I said, as you guys see, the path just disappears right in front of you. As Sentinel says, this is going to be fun, isn't it?
Yep.
As you can see, Bruno, as you are limping quite a bit, falling behind just a bit. As Simo and Bruno both turn around, Bruno rushes over to your side. Simo says, are you okay? Do you need, like, a piggyback ride or something?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my ankle.
It's fine, as he walks over and turns around.
As I do, just kind of hop on his back.
As he says, alright, here we go. As he picks you up so effortlessly and just starts walking. And then y'all start walking back. As you guys cross the path, the blizzard seems to have just completely calmed down. Over here. As you look around, as you do look, you can see that there is an entire hurricane-like blizzard all the way around, and this is the eye of the storm.
Oh, wow. Maybe this is why everybody evacuated the village.
You don't say.
That still doesn't make very much sense. I mean, this is kind of the Arctic Circle. These things kind of happen a lot. Maybe not to this degree, but...
Simo says, Do you know of any bosses or anything that might be around here that might cause something like this?
Not that I can think of, no.
Big opening in the back of this bed that's stable shut. I won't stop needing to walk in open it.
Can you repeat that, please?
I said not that I can think of, no.
As Simon says, alright, we're here.
As, I just kind of say the door should be unlocked.
And if it's not?
I have a key.
I get a very bad feeling.
Do you think it may have something to do with...
As he starts walking up the steps. What?
my sister?
No, definitely not. Actually, yes, I completely think it has something to do with your sister. But I don't think your sister's causing all this. I'm bored. As you guys walk inside?
Yep.
Oh, no, okay, thank goodness I caught that early. As you walk inside, it is freezing cold inside.
As I do, just kind of call out, Grandma Penny?
As you do not hear any response. As Simo says, don't overreact. Seriously. Stay calm. Sorry, I gotta fix this. The fireplace has gone out. As Simo just says, shh. Seriously, we need to be quiet. As you guys pass this corridor, you can see your Grandma Penny standing in almost the same exact spot as she was before, but she's talking to this very large man who's got like ice on him, and he's carrying this very fancy looking cape, I guess you could say. And he's got this white hair, I believe. I'm trying to list off of memory. I don't remember exactly what he looks like. Yeah. He's wearing these very fancy clothes, but he's got this chilly feeling to it.
Who is that?
Simo just says, I don't know. As he turns around and you see this man standing in front of you. As he starts looking at you and just starts walking towards you. Simo whispers in your ear, he's a boss. And he's not very nice.
What's he doing in my house?
He's probably here for your sister. Or wants something to do with her. As he just looks at you, Muffy, and he says, who are you? Why do you look so familiar?
I could ask you mostly the same thing. I don't really recognize you.
You don't recognize me? How?
Did I?
Yeah, I'm your uncle. As you can see, he says, "I'm your uncle," and then immediately Simo's eye, you can hear it just cracking down his face. You can see his head shaking, almost like you can feel the bloodlust coming from him. Bruno steps over to the side as to create like a scissor type formation. As this guy looks at you and he says, "What's going on with your friend?"
He just kind of
He's
does
not
this
friendly.
sometimes. Everything's perfectly fine.
Look, he's not friendly. He's here for your sister. There's no doubt about it. You see that necklace around his neck?
Yeah, what is it?
He's a part of the Boreal family. Due to your sister's extremely powerful ice powers, he's here for your sister. As the man is kind of just standing there, and he does recognize that you two are talking about him, and then he just turns over and goes back towards Penny. As Penny looks almost terrified of him. There's just this massive tension in the air between everybody here.
Is there any chance that I could get over to my grandma Penny?
Is there any chance you could what?
Get over to my grandma Penny.
Are you speaking in character or out of character?
In character to Simo.
Simo says, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to act. I do not trust his family in any way. I don't trust his people at all.
I at least want to try.
Look, if it was up to me, we don't let him leave here alive. Sorry, facing the wrong way. There we go.
Honestly, do whatever you want, just as long as my family is safe.
Damn it. Okay. As Penny just looks at him and he says, "What do you want?" This guy sits down over on the side of like the plant box or whatever it's called, and he says, "I'm here for Lynn. I hear she has some fantastic ice powers, and us at the Boreal family, we can really teach her a lot." As you can kind of just see his very nonchalant smirk on his face.
As I do kind of climb down from Simo's back and limp over to Aunt Penny.
As Simo kind of grabs you by the shoulder and he says, "You be very, very careful with what you do." As he has a extremely serious face.
As I continue to try and limp over to Aunt Penny.
As you limp over to Aunt Penny, this man kind of stands up and says, "What are you doing?"
Oh, my Aunt Penny, she can heal people. I sprained my ankle.
As you said, she can heal people. The smile on his face that happens as he clutches his hand together, and then immediately a giant cage of ice comes up and surrounds your Aunt Penny. Would you like to engage in combat?
I'm gonna die.
As
As I do kind of turn to look to.
Simo already has his gun. Yeah, Simo already has his gun ready.
What is the floor made out of?
The floor is made out of wood.
Dang it.
As this man over here says, ice powers, really? Or healing powers. Sorry. That'd be a
She
great
doesn't
addition
have
to the
healing
family.
powers.
What?
Her powers aren't healing, it's just something she picked up. They're not the strongest, but they work.
As he looks at you, and he kind of just says, oh, well. Huh. As you see this weird smile coming across his face. It's just like a very tooth-filled smile. Simo, with a very serious tone, and says, I don't think he cares anymore. As he says, so what is it you want to do, Muffy?
I'm not gonna lie, I really want to knock a tooth out of that smiley grin.
The guy in here says, why don't we just take this outside? Cause less destruction in the house. Well, what do you say?
As I do kind of just turn to look to Simo, and I'm thinking in my head, there's no way this guy cares about the house.
Simo looks at you and he says, I guarantee you he has some advantage over us and if we're outside. That's why he wants to go out. It's your call.
I think we can talk things out inside.
He looks at you and says, why do you want to talk things out? You already know I'm not here for something good, right?
Oh, that much was very obvious, especially when you encased my Aunt Penny in an ice cage. Sorry, Grandma Penny in an ice cage.
We need to make a counter of how many times you slip up. As he clutches his hand again, and then the ice cage closes, and then Penny runs over behind the ice sculpture as an attempt to get cover. As Simo puts away his sniper, but under his sleeve, you can see that he has a very, very sharpened knife tucked away in his hand.
As I do just kind of step a little further in the direction of the ice cage, just so that if he does throw it, his accuracy doesn't have to be too high.
Okay.
Sorry, the ice block that limb.
As this guy says, my name is Borean. What about you two? And why do you want to talk this out?
Because this is my family, my home, my village, and you've just kind of intruded.
Intruded? I didn't intrude anywhere. My family helps keep your village paid for. I'm just here to... what's the word? Collect a debt.
And whose debt would that be?
Well, originally it was going to be money, but I think your little sister Lynn would be a good addition to the family.
How much money?
As he smirks and he just says, the entire village's worth. Twice.
Well, it's a good thing this village is worth about 2 cents.
Simo says, no, it's not. You may not know this, Muffy, but your village has an underground... well... something underground. That's where all the money's worth. You know those giant carriages that always come through here every month?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're delivering some pretty bad stuff. And that's why the village is worth so much, and he wants at least 1 million emerald coins. Borean says, well, you guys can pay up, give your sister Lynn, or I can just flatten the village.
Give me a moment to discuss with my grandma. I say, walking over to Grandma Penny.
As he sits down up on the thing and he says, I'm pretty sure an ice tumbler would do that job pretty well. You want to walk over to your Grandma Penny?
Yeah.
As you walk over to your Grandma Penny, Simo is still standing there just staring at him, making sure that he does not move in any suspicious way. As you walk over to your Grandma Penny and she just says, are you okay?
I'm okay, are you?
No. He came here and threatened me.
Do you think that you could heal me? My head and my ankle.
Yes. As she rubs her hands together and then just heals your ankle and your head. As you do feel rejuvenated.
Thank you, Grandma. As I do give her a hug. Do you think with the help of me, Simon, and Bruno that we could all take him?
I don't know. That'd be a very tough fight. He's very strong. He's causing the hurricane outside.
That's probably why he wanted us to go outside. We're definitely not giving him Lynn.
No.
Maybe we could catch him off guard.
I don't know how you would do that. You can hear Simo over here and he says, why don't you just leave? You just overhear him shouting that.
Simo seems like a pretty good distraction.
He also seems like a really good fighter.
He is very strong.
How would you distract him?
Well, Simo already seems to have the attention. Do you think you could hit him from behind with anything?
I don't have any powers. Besides my earth abilities, but I've never trained those. Not much.
Well, we can't just ask Simo to fight just alone. And I'm not too good with my abilities either. I honestly don't know what to do.
As you kind of hear this loud shrieking and growling sound, not growling, but a loud snarling and shrieking sound coming from just all around, it seems like, outside of the village. It is so loud.
What is that?
As Borean smirks, and he says, well, either I'm taking her, or he is.
Who is he?
As he just smirks again, and he just starts... As Penny's eyes just start kind of getting filled with tears, as a single drop of tears drop to the ground, and as it's dropping to her chin, it crystallizes and hits the ground and shatters. As you hear Simo take out his gun, and he says, "What the hell is it?" As you can just hear Borean still over there just laughing hysterically. Like a psychopath.
I would kind of like to peer from behind the ice at Simo, kind of giving him a look of, we're definitely fighting this guy, or whatever that is.
As Simo nods his head and then immediately shoots his gun, and everything, even the blizzard outside, goes dead silent. As you can see this dude's icy blue blood splatter onto the plants. Whoa, that is not that much.
And at that, his head exploded, guys.
That is way more than just a head exploding.
All up
As you can see, his icy blue blood just... Oh, sorry. Wrong fluid. As he is just sitting there with a bullet hole in his stomach right here and looking up, and he just starts laughing hysterically and smiling. As you can see, his little necklace starts glowing, and an ice comes around his stomach and heals him.
As I just kind of say, the necklace! Special!
As you say immediately a giant shard of ice comes shooting from the ground at Simo as... Ooh, let's see. Ooh, it pierces Simo right in the shoulder. As Simo... Go ahead.
No, you say what you're gonna...
As Simo's eye does turn crack, like, his entire face is covered with this crack. As it's going down to his fingertips. Sorry, go ahead.
I am now thinking, what is the crack on his face, and why does it keep glowing? And then I refocus back to the fight,
Oh, sorry.
and kind of look around to see if there's any rock that I can use without breaking the floor.
There does not appear to be any rock that you could use. As you hear again a shrieking, screaming sound coming from the outside, almost like in the air. As Simo immediately just pulls himself off of the icy spear. With like a look of, that did not hurt at all, but this will. As he looks over at you and he says, "Are you gonna help or what?"
There's nothing I can really do.
Got it. You know what, Borean? Let's take it outside. As he says, "Very well." With a very arrogant smirk on his face, and he walks past Simo.
As I follow.
As you follow, Penny goes and follows too, and then Lynn no, I'm kidding.
And then Lynn, in this block of ice, just floats after you guys.
As Bruno jumps on Simo's back, and they seemingly, like, almost merge together as Simo's, a bit of Simo's hair begins turning black and whatnot. And he grows just a bit taller, and you can kind of see some of the muscle definition coming off of him. And both of his eyes are black and red. As he starts peeling off the weaponry that he has on him, except for a single knife. And he turns around and he kind of sticks his tongue out at you, and you can see a razor blade hidden on his tongue.
As I just kind of think to myself, smart play.
As you all walk outside, Borean apparently disappears. As Borean turns around and he turns around and points at him, Simo, and he says, "I challenge you to traditional combat." Simo looks at him and nods his head and says, "Very well." As he takes off his coat, Simo takes off his coat, you can see this shirt under him, as he is kind of shaking just a little bit from the cold. He is beefed the fuck up. Simo is ripped, as this man also does the same, and they are both absolutely jacked.
As I just kind of turn to Grandma Penny and say, what is traditional combat?
Traditional combat is combat whenever two people who have extremely different abilities toss away their abilities. And they, well, do traditional combat, a fight, without using abilities.
Oh.
As an entire circle comes around you guys. And, you all get teleported to this large arena, as that is going to be the pause of the session for now. Alright, we ready?
Yup.
So, and of course I gotta play some it's gotta go. As Simo does, like, backs up all the way to the edge of the court thing, and so does the ice guy, as they both kind of just sit there and they're just waiting for something to happen. The ice guy kind of looks at you and he says, "Are one of you guys gonna say go?"
As I just kind of go.
As Simo rushes forward, the ice guy kind of just walks forward normally. Simo jumps into the air, and let's see, d20 plus d20 plus 6. Oh, I fucking hate that. 34, dang. Simo disappears into a cloud of black smoke. Your Grandma Penny says, "Well, I wasn't all the way right. Techniques are allowed, but certain ones aren't." As Simo teleports behind the ice, Borean flips around with a back fist, and 13. Right. Ooh. Okay, and then Simo's reaction. Okay, as Simo ducks down and then goes up for an uppercut as... Ooh, okay. he dodges but gets hit in the side of the face. As Borean's going to take the momentum going right and then do a spin kick. This is so strange. 22 as Simo's gonna try and die. Damn! Simo perfect.
In my head, I'm just thinking knock his teeth out.
Simo perfectly dodges under the spin kick and then just jumps up and he's gonna do a flying kick too. And just knocks him straight in the jaw as Borean falls over to this side. Simo's entire body is starting to glow this bright red. As you can kind of see, his hair is changing as well. Is there anything you would like to say before we continue?
I kind of turn to my grandma Penny and go, do you see that?
Penny says, yeah, he's embracing the blood of Cell.
What is that?
I don't know how to explain it to you, just keep watching.
Okay. As I just keep...
As the guy on the ground gets up, and then Simo's going to do a drop kick. That's going to be a strength, actually. So 7. As he does a drop kick. Damn! Dex, obviously, is going to be stay the same. 26. Okay, as he does a drop kick and hits the dude square in the chest as the necklace on him shatters. As the cold feeling that was originally in the air completely goes away. As
I just now have the biggest smile on my face.
As Simo walks over and his hair has turned completely black. And you can see his skin is turning charcoal black as well. As he glows this red aura with like red lightning striking the ground near him. As Borean stands up, as Simo's just sitting there now, as Borean stands up and throws a left and then a right hook. As Simo is just standing there taking everything. He even kicks Simo in the nuts too.
The bag that has all
Morgan,
the
mute.
in there.
I muted Morgan. Morgan, text me whenever you can be unmuted. As Simo's just sitting there taking these punches and these kicks. As you can see, he's turned into this thing.
Grandma Penny, what is that?
As your Grandma Penny looks absolutely terrified, saying, I don't know, but it's not good. As this Borean guy completely just keeps on clobbering Simo. Punching him, kicking him. Simo's not moving, not reacting at all. As everything does just kind of sit still for a second. What is running through your character's mind at the moment?
What is going on? What happened to Simo? And also, is Lynn okay? What was coming after Lynn? Is it still coming after Lynn? When we get back, will Lynn be gone?
As you see Simo just raises his hand slowly, being punched and kicked frantically by this guy. you can see Simo just jolt forward just a little bit as you hear this deafening ringing happen in your ears. As you see, sorry, wrong color. Wrong color again. As you see this puddle of icy blue blood appear behind him, as you see this fist-sized hole going through this guy's chest. You didn't even see Simo move his hand. As the freak out from Simo is over, as they both at the same time, he reverts back to normal, and this guy falls to the floor at the same time Simo does. That is going to be the end of the session for today.